after more than a 30-year delay. The Fontainebleau Las Vegas is officially hiring, posting ads for leadership positions on its portal, promising to expand its search for candidates this fall.
The massive high-rise has stood empty for years, with many thinking it would never open. But now the resort is proving them wrong.
This is the Fontainebleau in its prime, but it took the hotel casino 31 years to reach this point. Donald Suffer and Turnberry Development first purchased the 21-acre parcel of land at Las Vegas and Elvis Presley Boulevards back in 1992. Plans originally called for a London theme, complete with Big Ben, but it was not meant to be. The project would encounter a number of hurdles, including 9/11 over the next decade. The Fontainebleau concept would sit idle until May of 2005, when it could unveil some big plans. Among them, 3.4 million square feet, 27 bars and restaurants, 60,000 square foot spa, 7 acres of pool deck, and nearly 3,400 rooms. That, too, was not meant to be. June of 2009 brought bankruptcy, a series of lawsuits, and a sell-off of the property. The buyer then sold off all the interior fittings, and the project sat in mothballs for another 8 years. 2017 brought another sale, and 2020 brought the COVID pandemic, and the Fontainebleau receded into limbo yet again. In February of 2021, the son of the project's original chief, Jeff Soffer, teamed up with the Koch brothers to breathe new life into the project. Now it will include 67 stories with 63 floors with rooms and residential space. It will offer nearly 3,800 rooms in 173,000 square foot casino, 90,000 square feet of retail space, as well as a theater, nightclub, and a 9th floor pool deck.
And the Fontainebleau's grand opening is scheduled for December of this year.